It all comes down to this. The Luzhniki Stadium is set. Not many would have predicted a France-Croatia final, but here we are. Paul Scott, you've been taking a look at the French. Do they go into this game as overwhelming favourites?
I would say they probably do for a number of factors. Firstly, as we've discussed and will discuss, Croatia, possibly that issue of fatigue. France haven't really been stretched in their knockout games. They were relatively comfortable against Uruguay, relatively comfortable as well against Argentina, despite the scoreline there. And I think they have the quality to win this match. I'm not saying Croatia haven't got quality, but I think the stage is set for Kylian Mbappe. He's 19 years old. He's the highest scoring teenager at a World Cup since a certain Pelé, all the way back in 1958. And I've got a feeling that the way that this tournament has panned out, with Cristiano Ronaldo going home early, with Portugal, Lionel Messi, and that terrible Argentina team going home, they're in their 30s. I've got a feeling it's set for Kylian Mbappe to announce himself on the international scene and announce himself and say that he could be the future face of the global game, the superstar, along with, of course, Neymar. But it hasn't been his World Cup. It's all set for Mbappe.
And is it fair to say that France haven't quite clicked as a team? Well, they've been getting better and better and better, but they are a team of individuals, as you mentioned. When they click, could it be the final, as you suggest? They may be unplayable.
They've gone through the gears, as you say, and they've beaten all who have stood in their way, and they've beaten them comfortably. You can't do anything else than that. They didn't have to switch on the style against Uruguay or Argentina. They scored some spectacular goals, as you say, individual goals against Argentina. But Didier Deschamps, he was criticised coming into the tournament. People were saying that he's perhaps too defensive. He's not necessarily getting the best out of the attacking talent he's got, but they've gone through the gears. And now history hasn't been kind to the French in Russia, but this current generation is now hoping to rewrite a new chapter in their history. All who have tried to conquer Russia have failed. The Cathedral of Christ the Saviour in Moscow was first built to honour Russia's victory over Napoleon's invading French army in 1812. Napoleon occupied Moscow for a month before hunger and the onset of winter forced him into the long retreat west. After spending the same amount of time in the Russian capital, the French team of 2018 are hoping they won't also return to Paris defeated and empty-handed, just as they did 2 years ago in the European Championship final.
I know the taste of defeat in a final. It's really not good, very bitter. I remember defeat, it's really not good. We will not approach this final like the Euros. We will finish well, with smiles, and make France explode.
Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture was first performed here, and France now have a new virtuoso calling the tune, 19-year-old Kylian Mbappe. While many of the global superpowers had their Russian campaigns cut short, Mbappe has helped France close in on global domination.
I think he's very, very special. He doesn't, as tends to be the case with very young players, he doesn't appear to have any sense of the occasion. He just plays as though he were playing for fun, but with extraordinary muscularity and athleticism. He manages to be this exceptional athletic beast.
Complementing Mbappe's youth, France have an experienced general in charge. Didier Deschamps could become only the third man in history to win the World Cup as a player and coach. He wore the captain's armband in France's 3-0 win over Brazil in the 1998 final. But Zinedine Zidane's 2 goals in that match mean he's known as the hero of '98. Antoine Griezmann doesn't care how he's remembered, as long as he becomes a champion.
For me, without the team, you can't do anything. We've seen that in this World Cup. Then we talk of the generation of France, 1998, of Zidane. For 2018, I don't know who it will be, but it's of no importance. I just want us to win the World Cup, play a great match, and nothing else.
Qu'on fasse un gros match et rien de plus.
Like all armies, France know the secret to success is preparedness. Extra time and penalties are a possibility. Sunday could be a long and arduous battle.
On se prépare à tout.
We are preparing for anything. The final objective is to win. If it has to go through extra time or penalties, we are ready, and we will do everything to win. Whatever the outcome of the match, it's victory that counts.
On fera tout pour gagner, quelle que soit l'issue du match.
Well, this statue of Marshal Zhukov marks the spot where thousands of fans have gathered over the last month. Zhukov was given the honour of inspecting the troops at the 1945 Victory Parade for his role in the Second World War. But on Sunday night, he will be witnessing the celebrations of an entirely different conquering army. So we don't have long to wait to find out whether it will be France or Croatia celebrating come Sunday. Lance, you've been taking a closer look at Croatia. You saw them in the quarterfinals, that victory over Russia. Have they got anything left in the tank to overcome France?
Well, I think that's the valid point about this Croatia side, is they have played, if you look at all of the extra time and the penalties that they've gone through, they've played a full match extra than the French. They've also had one less day off than France, given the way the World Cup has panned out. But they do have this mindset in them that, you know, everyone is against them, and they showed the English. They were quite spiky in their press conference afterwards, saying that they weren't given enough respect, and also they have this resolve, this mental resolve to get through the games. That we've heard the head coach speaking about how players refused to come off, even when they had cramps. So they do have their own set of stars. You mentioned Mbappe and Griezmann. They've got the likes of Mandzukic, Modric, Rakitic. So again, if you listen to what the Croatians said, again, be wary of writing them off.
It's not just the resolve, is it? As you say, they do have match winners. If it is a tight, nervy, close affair, they've got players that can pull something out of the bag and win that match.
Well, absolutely. Jose Mourinho's mentioned Perisic, saying that how good he is, a physical specimen. Perhaps France might be attacking the space he leaves behind. But I think it all comes down to N'Golo Kante. Can the Croatians work out a way to stop Kante just doing what he does best and being that defensive rock? If you look at Belgium, arguably a better side on paper, one of the best units in the competition, a better side on paper than the Croatians, and they simply had no answer for the way the French defended, with the likes of Kante just blocking everything, getting in the way. But then we can't underestimate how good Luka Modric has been. And many of the Croatians say that he doesn't get the praise he deserves, and that if he does go on to win this World Cup, perhaps he should be the player of the tournament. But the stage is set, and the Croatians have certainly not done it the easy way. For Croatia, all roads led to Moscow. At times, the journey was long and arduous, each twist and turn more painful than the last. There were moments where it seemed as if the dream was lost, but through resilience and drive, these players have arguably overcome more than any other side in Russia. This battle-hardened Croatia squad has navigated its nation into their first ever World Cup final.
We had the hardest path, and we will be the only team that played 8 games at the World Cup. When we put everything together, and this is very difficult, players invested so much effort and energy, but it seems to me that the more difficult it is for us, the better we play. So I am not afraid what will happen on Sunday.
And Croatia, despite boasting a few of their own individual world beaters, still play like an absolute unit. From defence through to attack, France are coming up against a team that have collectively dealt with the proverbial kitchen sink more times than a Russian plumber.
We had a lot of problems before our match with England, but not one player wanted to leave the field during the match, despite having lots and lots of problems with injury and fatigue. Whoever I asked, do you need to be substituted? He said, no, I can't. I don't want to be replaced. That is something that makes me very proud.
Croatia have created a bubble where it is them against the world, and these lot are loving every second of being underdogs. Against England, it was the fact that the English press didn't give them enough respect. They've been crying out all tournament, saying that their captain Luka Modric deserves more credit. And even Dejan Lovren is claimed to be the best in his position in the world. Their tails are up, they're ready for a fight, and the message from the training camp behind us is loud and clear. Take us on at your own risk. We're a lot better than you think. In France, Croatia face undoubtedly their sternest test of the tournament. A team full of stars who are starting to look like they are about to shift into the next gear. In truth, Croatia looked fatigued in their first half semi-final against England. The French have had an extra day's rest, and if you add all of Croatia's extra time, they've played one full match, more than France.
If we will carry one another, we will have energy. We know this is the biggest match for us, and we want to leave the pitch with our head held high.
Tired and drained after all they've been through, Croatia may need to use their reserves wisely on Sunday. But then, a team that has won 2 penalty shootouts and come from behind to win a semi-final in extra time is a side that has mental resolve in abundance. Croatia's biggest battle at the Luzhniki Stadium may be the one they fight within. One last push.
Well, whether that last push is enough to get them over the line, we will find out on Sunday. Lance, I wanted to ask you, with Croatia having gone to penalties as they have done and extra time in the semi-finals, have they ridden their luck to get to this final?
Well, I think they could have so easily gone out against Denmark, but it is those pivotal moments, like when Luka Modric missed that last-minute penalty, then going on to redeem himself, scoring again. And I think that 3-0 demolition of Argentina was what really got people to stand back and say, well, hang on, look at this. I mean, even as early as then, people were already saying this Croatia side could be a team that gets to the final. But then the road was rather long for them that day. They got gradually worse as the competition went on. They still ground out results, and that's the most important thing. They're by no means the best team in the competition. They are physical, they're aggressive. I think that physicality is going to be huge against the French. On paper, let's be honest, they don't have the beating of the French. When you look at them exactly man for man, I think the France's defence is certainly better. Perhaps you can say Croatia's midfield at a stretch, slightly more attacking, but France have more of the attacking options. So I think, in going back to your question, have they been lucky? Perhaps there have been moments where Croatia could have easily gone out and we would be sitting here talking about an all too different final. But I think what happened was, after that magnificent display against Argentina, yes, they rode their luck, but then they got into that extra time against England. How good were they in that second half? They stood up, they'd taken all of England's punches, and in truth, they controlled the game. Yes, England should have put away, could have scored a few more goals earlier on in the game. But in truth, yeah, Croatia completely dominated that game and showed their class and showed their talent. So I think if they can find a way with all of that tired legs in them and play the way they did in that second period of extra time, then yeah, certainly they've got a big chance.
Well, let's talk about France then, because I think the final defeat of Euro 2016 is going to be a huge motivator.
How much is that going to be in the back of their minds, and how much has that changed the way that they will play? Is that going to be massive motivation for the French?
I think it's not just motivation. I think they would have learned a lot from it as well. I think it's going to be the deciding factor. I think that defeat in Paris to Portugal in the final of the Euros is something that hurt. It hurt the French team, it hurt the French people. They've learned from it. Whether it's enough to get them over the line against Croatia, I think it will be. It all comes to a head here on Sunday at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow. Back to you in the studio.